Kara Adams had been flying alone for too long. She knew this because she often talked to her ship computer, as if it were a real person, her small cargo ship. The Wanderer was not fancy, but it was hers. The job paid well enough hauling supplies between the outer colonies where few pilots wanted to go. On this particular day, Kara was making a routine trip to Colony 7 with a load of medical supplies and farming equipment, when her sensors beeped loudly. She looked at the screen and saw an unknown ship floating dead in space. The ship was sending out a weak distress signal. Most smart pilots would ignore such signals in the outer reaches of space. Pirates often used fake distress calls to lure in helpful ships, then attack and steal everything. But Kara had always been more curious than cautious. She slowed her ship and moved closer. The strange vessel was unlike any she had seen before. It had a smooth purple hull that seemed to shimmer and change colors like oil on water. Large sections of the ship were torn open, showing the insides. Kara talked to her computer Navi. "What do you think about this?" The computer responded in its flat voice. "Unknown ship design. No match in database." Caution advised. Kara chewed her lip, thinking she could just continue on her way to Colony 7. No one would know she had ignored the distress call, but what if someone was still alive on that ship? She made her decision and began putting on her spacesuit. Before long, she was floating across the gap between her ship and the damaged alien vessel. Her magnetic boots clicked as she landed on the purple hull. The airlock was damaged, but she managed to force it open and enter the ship. Inside was even stranger than outside. The walls seemed almost alive with faint patterns moving beneath the surface. The corridors curved in unusual ways and the lighting was a soft purple glow. Kara moved carefully through the ship, scanning for any signs of life. The damage was worse inside. With her helmet light, she could see 3 alien bodies on what must have been the bridge. They were humanoid with purple skin, pointed ears and long tails. They wore fitted clothing with strange symbols. She was about to turn back when she heard a soft sound coming from under a fallen panel. She moved closer and lifted the heavy piece of metal underneath. Curled into a tight ball was another alien. This one was alive. The alien looked up at Kara with large, shimmering eyes that changed colors like opals. The alien was female with silvery purple skin and a long tail wrapped protectively around her body. She had a deep cut on her shoulder that leaked dark blue blood. Kara held out her hand slowly, not wanting to scare the injured alien. The female alien flinched at first, but then reached out with a 6-fingered hand. Kara helped her up, noticing how light she felt despite being almost as tall as herself. Getting back to the Wanderer was difficult. The alien was weak and moving in zero gravity with an injured person was challenging. Finally, they made it to Kara's airlock. Once inside with gravity restored, the alien collapsed to the floor. Kara removed her helmet and lifted the surprisingly light alien, carrying her to the small medical bay on her ship. Laid the alien on the examination table and began scanning her with the ship's medical computer. The alien watched Kara with those strange, color-changing eyes. Her tail now moved slowly back and forth in what seemed like curiosity. The computer beeped, showing results: unknown species but biology similar enough to humans for basic treatment. Kara cleaned and bandaged the alien's shoulder wound. The alien made soft musical sounds that Kara could not understand, but the look of gratitude in her eyes needed no translation. For the next 3 days, the alien slept most of the time. Kara decided to name her Violet because of her purple skin. When awake, Violet would watch Kara work with intense interest, her tail often reaching out to touch things nearby. By the 4th day, Violet was much stronger. She followed Kara around the ship, examining everything with great curiosity. Communication was difficult, but they began to develop a simple sign language. Kara would point to an object and say its name. Violet would repeat it in her musical language. Kara learned that Violet's tail was incredibly useful. The alien could use it like a third hand, picking up tools or steadying herself as she moved around the ship. Violet seemed especially fascinated by Kara's collection of paper books, something that appeared completely new to her. At night, Kara would often find Violet sitting by the main viewport staring out at the stars. There was a deep sadness in those opal eyes. One night, Kara sat beside her and Violet surprised her by leaning against her shoulder. Violet's tail gently wrapped around Kara's wrist in what seemed like a gesture seeking comfort. Kara had changed course away from Colony 7. The colony was known for its distrust of aliens, and she worried about how they would treat Violet. Instead, she headed toward Nova Haven, a trading hub known for its diverse population. After a week, the ship's translation program had collected enough of Violet's language to begin basic translations. The first clear words came through the ship's speakers. "My people are gone. I am the last Lysari." Over the next few days, through broken translations, Kara learned Violet's story. Her people, the Lysari, were once a great civilization known for their advanced biological technology. They could grow their ships rather than build them. They had peaceful relations with many species, but a terrible war had destroyed their homeworld decades ago. The ship Kara found had contained the last surviving colony of Lysari. They had been traveling for years looking for a new home when they were attacked by raiders who wanted their biological technology. Violet had been hiding during the attack. She was an engineer, not a fighter. When the raiders left, thinking everyone was dead. Violet was the only survivor. She had been alone for days before Kara found her. As Kara listened to this tragic story, she felt a deep connection to the alien woman. Despite their differences, they were both alone in the vast emptiness of space. Kara had lost her family years ago to a plague on Earth. She had been running ever since, never staying in one place too long. That night, Kara made a decision. Violet could stay on the Wanderer for as long as she wanted. The ship had plenty of room for two. And Kara had to admit she enjoyed having someone else around, even if communication was still difficult. The next morning, Kara found Violet in the engine room. The alien was examining the ship systems with great interest. When Violet noticed Kara, she made a series of gestures pointing to several parts of the engine. Then through the translator came broken words: "Can fix, make better." Kara smiled and nodded, giving Violet permission to work on the engines. The alien moved with surprising speed, her tail helping her reach tools and hold parts as she worked. By the end of the day, the Wanderer was running more efficiently than it had in years. As they ate dinner together, Kara realized something important had changed. Her ship no longer felt empty and cold. For the first time in years, she looked forward to waking up the next day. 2 weeks had passed since Kara found Violet. The translation program worked much better now, allowing them to have real conversations. Though some words still confused the system, they managed to understand each other. Violet had made herself at home on the Wanderer. She had created a sleeping area for herself in the engine room, saying she liked the warm humming sounds of the machines. It reminded her of her own ship. Kara had offered her the spare cabin, but Violet preferred her nest of blankets. Near the engines, her tail would swish contentedly as she slept there. The alien had proven herself incredibly useful. Her knowledge of technology far exceeded Kara's. She had improved nearly every system on the ship. The engines ran 30% more efficiently. The life support used less power. The water recycler worked better than when the ship was new. One morning, Kara found Violet examining the ship's weapon systems. The Wanderer had basic defensive capabilities, but nothing special. Violet looked up as Kara entered the room. "Your weapon's very weak," she said through the translator. "Not enough to fight raiders." Kara nodded. "I avoid fights when I can. Running is usually better." Violet made a musical sound that the translator could not interpret. Then she pointed to several parts of the weapon system can make better. Need materials from Nova Haven. Kara had concerns about upgrading weapons. There were strict laws about ship armaments in some systems. But after what happened to Violet's people, she understood the aliens' worry. They were still 4 days from Nova Haven. Kara spent that time teaching Violet more about humans. She showed her pictures of Earth, explaining about oceans, mountains, and forests. Violet seemed fascinated by the concept of large bodies of water. Her people had evolved on a drier world. In return, Violet taught Kara about Lysari culture. The aliens communicated not just with words but with tail movements and changing eye colors. Violet demonstrated how different tail positions showed different emotions. A curved tip meant happiness. A tight coil around the body meant fear. Their biology was also fascinating. Lysari could see colors humans could not. Their six-fingered hands were more dexterous, allowing for incredibly detailed work. And their tails were as useful as another limb. As they grew closer to Nova Haven, Kara worried about how others would react to Violet. Alien species were not uncommon in the trading hub, but Lysari were unknown. Violet would attract attention. We need a story, Kara explained. You can't tell people you're the last. Lysari raiders or collectors might try to capture you. Violet nodded, her tail moving in what Kara now recognized as a worried pattern. I understand danger everywhere. They decided that Violet would pose as Kara's engineer from a small colony world. The unusual appearance could be explained as genetic modifications. Many outer colony inhabitants modified themselves to better survive harsh environments. The day before reaching Nova Haven, Kara received an urgent message from her contact. Their message scrolled across her screen. Be careful, Adams patrol boats searching all incoming ships. Military looking for something or someone. Extra security everywhere. Kara frowned and showed the message to Violet. The alien read it, her tail twitching nervously. Bad timing. Violet said, maybe raiders told others about Lysari's ship. That was a concerning thought. If word had spread about a Lysari ship being attacked, there might be others looking for survivors or technology. Kara considered turning around and heading to a different port, but they needed supplies. And Nova Haven was one of the few places where Violet might pass without too many questions. When they reached Nova Haven orbit, they were immediately hailed by a patrol ship. The stern voice over the comm demanded their identification and purpose. Kara responded calmly. Cargo ship, the Wanderer, Captain Kara Adams. Stopping for supplies and possible contracts. There was a long pause then. The patrol officer spoke again. Prepare for boarding inspection. Standard procedure. Kara had been through inspections before, but this seemed unusual for Nova Haven. She looked at Violet, who stood nearby, her tail now completely still, a sign of extreme tension. Hide in the secret compartment, Kara whispered, pointing to a hidden storage space beneath the cargo bay floor. She had used it for smuggling medical supplies to colonies during blockades. Violet shook her head. No hiding. We'll be your engineer as planned. Trust me. Before Kara could argue, the patrol ship docked. 3 officers in uniform boarded the Wanderer. They carried scanning equipment and sidearms. The lead officer, a stern woman with short gray hair, looked surprised when she saw Violet. Identify yourself, the officer demanded, staring at the alien. Violet straightened up to her full height, her tail moving in a confident pattern that Kara recognized as a show of strength. Lily Mason, engineer. She said, her voice musical, even through the translator modified for work in high radiation zones. She pointed to her purple skin and tail, as if they were simply useful adaptations. The officer frowned, looking skeptical. She ran a scanner over Violet. The device beeped several times, showing readings the officer clearly found confusing. The woman looked at her scanner, then back at Violet. Finally, she spoke to Kara. Your engineer has unusual modifications. Captain Adams. Care to explain? Kara shrugged, trying to appear casual. Outer Rim specialists. There are research stations developing new modifications for deep space work. Lily is testing some prototypes. The tail is particularly useful in zero-gravity maintenance. The officer still looked suspicious, but the scanner showed nothing dangerous. She ordered her team to search the ship. While they looked through cargo and systems, Kara and Violet stood silently, hoping the hidden improvements to the ship would not raise questions. After 30 tense minutes, the search team reported nothing unusual. The lead officer gave Violet one last long look before nodding to Kara. You're cleared for docking bay 12. Captain, unusual modifications should be registered with Port Authority in the future. When the patrol left, Kara released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Violet relaxed her tail, resuming its normal swishing motion. They were dangerous, Violet said, but not looking for me specifically. Looking for something else. Kara agreed. Something big is happening. They docked at Bay 12 and prepared to go into the station. Kara gave Violet a hooded jacket to make her less noticeable. Though it could not hide her purple skin or tail completely, it would prevent casual observers from getting a good look. Nova Haven was a massive space station built inside a hollowed asteroid. Its central hub was filled with shops, restaurants, and trading offices. People and aliens of many species moved through the crowded spaces. Most paid no attention to Kara and Violet, though a few gave the alien curious glances. They visited supply shops gathering what they needed. Violet was fascinated by everything, her eyes changing colors rapidly in excitement. Kara had to remind her several times not to use her tail too obviously. In public, at a technology shop, Violet found parts she needed for improving the ship's systems. She picked components with expert knowledge, chatting with the shop owner about specifications. The owner seemed impressed by her technical knowledge and asked no questions about her unusual appearance. As they were leaving the shop, Kara noticed two men watching them. The men wore civilian clothes but stood with military posture. Kara casually guided Violet down a side corridor, then through a service tunnel she knew from previous visits. They emerged in a different section of the station away from their followers. "We are being followed," Kara whispered. "Need to finish quickly and leave." Violet nodded her tail, now hidden completely beneath her jacket. They hurried through their remaining errands, gathering supplies as quickly as possible. As they headed back toward their docking bay, Kara spotted more patrol officers ahead, checking identifications. She pulled Violet into a small bar, hoping to wait until the officers moved on. Inside the dim bar, they found a booth in the corner and ordered drinks to blend in. Kara kept watch on the door while Violet sat with her back to the room. A news screen on the wall caught Kara's attention. The sound was off, but the headline scrolled across the bottom. "Alien technology theft ring busted, raiders captured near frontier." Kara watched as images flashed on the screen. A damaged ship that looked similar to Violet's. A group of rough-looking raiders in custody, and most worrying, several purple-skinned bodies laid out for examination. Violet must not see this, Kara realized. The news was reporting on the very attack that had killed Violet's people. The bodies of her friends and family were being displayed. Like specimens, Kara shifted position, blocking Violet's view of the screen. She needed to get them back to the ship as soon as possible. Kara kept her eyes on the bar entrance while trying to block Violet's view of the news screen. The images of dead Lyseri being examined by scientists made her stomach turn. These were Violet's people, perhaps her family being treated like specimens. "We need to leave now," Kara whispered, leaning across the table. She kept her voice low, though most people in Nova Haven minded their own business. Someone might be listening. Violet tilted her head, her opal eyes questioning, but she trusted Kara enough not to argue. They stood and Kara led them toward a back exit she knew from previous visits. The service corridor beyond was empty, perfect for avoiding the patrols as they hurried through maintenance tunnels. Kara explained what she had seen on the news. Violet stopped walking, her tail wrapping tightly around her leg, a sign Kara now recognized as deep distress. "My family, my crew," she said softly. "They are being cut open, studied." Her voice through the translator could not convey emotion, but her eyes shifted to a deep blue color that Kara had never seen before. Kara reached out, touching Violet's arm gently. "I'm sorry, but now we know why security is so tight. They found your ship and the raiders. They must be looking for any surviving Lyseri or technology." Violet stood straighter, her eyes shifting to a hard amber color. "They will not find me. They will not have my knowledge." They continued through the back routes of the station, moving carefully to avoid security cameras. When they finally reached their docking bay, Kara was relieved to see no patrol officers nearby. They hurried aboard the Wanderer and Kara immediately began pre-flight checks. "Need to install new parts before leaving," Violet said, gesturing to the bags of components. They had purchased can improve shield generator. "Very important." Kara hesitated. They needed to leave Nova Haven quickly, but better shields might make the difference if they were pursued. She nodded. "Okay, but hurry." While Violet worked on the shields, Kara finished preparations for departure. She received clearance from the station control surprisingly without questions. Perhaps the authorities were not specifically looking for them after all. Just as they were about to undock, Kara's communication system chimed. A message from her contact on the station flashed on the screen. Get out. Now they know about the purple alien. Kara's heart raced. They had been discovered. She called to Violet. Is the shield ready? Almost done. Violet called back, her voice tense. 2 more minutes. Kara checked the docking bay camera feed and saw 5 patrol officers rushing toward their ship. No time, she muttered, and hit the emergency release. The docking clamps disengaged with a violent shudder, and the Wanderer pulled away from the station faster than safety regulations allowed. Alarms blared as they separated without proper clearance. Kara pushed the engines hard, moving away from the station as quickly as possible. The ship groaned under the strain of rapid acceleration. Violet rushed into the cockpit, her tail whipping anxiously behind her shields. At 70%, she said. She dropped into the co-pilot seat and began working on the navigation system. Nova Haven Control called, demanding they return immediately. Kara ignored the transmission, focusing on putting distance between them and the station. A patrol ship launched in pursuit, its engines flaring bright against the darkness of space hold. On, Kara warned as she executed a sharp turn around a maintenance satellite. The maneuver would be hard on the ship, but might confuse their pursuers for a moment. Violet worked quickly, her 6-fingered hands dancing across the controls. Can mask our engine signature, she said. Need 5 minutes. Kara nodded grimly. 5 minutes was a long time with a patrol ship on their tail. She pushed the Wanderer toward a dense cluster of asteroids that surrounded Nova Haven. The risk was high, but the patrol ships were larger and less maneuverable. The first warning shot flashed past. Their viewport. Kara swerved narrowly, missing a small asteroid. Violet continued working, her tail now wrapped around the chair for stability as the ship jerked and twisted through the asteroid field. Patrol ship. Calling, now. Violet said, looking at the communication screen. Kara took a deep breath and opened the channel. A stern face appeared on screen. This is Captain Wells of Nova Haven Security. Return to dock immediately, or we will disable your vessel. Kara tried to look confused. This is Kara, Adams of the Wanderer. We have proper clearance for departure. There must be some mistake. The officer was not fooled. We have reports of an unregistered alien aboard your vessel. Possible connection to recent technology theft. Return now, or face consequences. Kara ended the transmission and looked at Violet. How much longer? Almost ready. Violet replied, her hands still working. 3 more minutes. Another warning shot hit closer, this time grazing their hull. The ship shuddered and alarms sounded. Kara silenced them, focusing on flying deeper into the asteroid field. A large rock loomed ahead and she barely managed to swerve around it. The patrol ship fell back slightly, unable to match her reckless path. Suddenly Violet made a triumphant sound. Done, she announced. The ship's signature will now read as a mining vessel. Different class, different registry. Kara was impressed but doubtful. Will that work? They saw us leave. Violet nodded confidently. Added false trajectory data to Nova Haven systems, shows us heading toward Colony 4. Despite her doubts, Kara changed course, heading away from the false trajectory Violet had created. The patrol ship continued on the original path, evidently following the fake data trail. After 30 tense minutes with no sign of pursuit, Kara finally relaxed her grip on the controls. We did it, she said with a relieved smile. Violet trilled a happy sound, her tail swishing freely again. Yes. But they now know about Lysari survivor. They will search. Kara nodded thoughtfully. We need to go somewhere unexpected. Somewhere beyond Nova Haven's influence. They studied the star charts together and decided on a course toward the frontier rim, a region of space loosely connected to the central systems but largely independent. The journey would take weeks, but they would be far from Nova Haven authorities. As they traveled, Violet continued improving the ship systems. The Wanderer became faster, more efficient, and better armed. Kara was amazed at the Lysari technology that Violet integrated into her human ship. One evening, as they shared a meal, Kara asked the question that had been on her mind. What will you do now? Your people, your culture. I can't imagine being the last of my kind. Violet was quiet for a long moment. Her eyes Shifting through colors, her tail moved in a pattern Kara had learned meant deep thought. Finally she spoke. I will record everything. History, technology, art, music. All Lizari knowledge. I will find safe place to store this knowledge. Maybe someday others will learn from it. Lizari will not be forgotten. Kara felt a deep sadness for her friend. What an impossible burden to carry the entire legacy of a civilization. She reached across the table and took Violet's six-fingered hand in hers. Whatever you decide'll help you. Violet looked surprised, her eyes flashing bright green. The translator relayed her words. You would help me. Why Kara struggled to explain because it's right, because no one should have to be alone, because I was alone too before. I found you. Violet's tail moved forward, wrapping gently around Kara's wrist, a gesture she now knew was one of deep affection among the Lizari. You are my clan now, she said simply. They continued their journey toward the frontier rim, stopping occasionally at small outposts for supplies. At each stop, they were careful to disguise Violet's appearance. Kara spread rumors about genetic modifications to explain her friend's unusual features. At an outpost called Miner's Rest, they heard more news about the Lizari ship. A trader mentioned that military scientists were studying the alien technology with great interest. The biological components of the ship were unlike anything seen before. The trader said the authorities were offering rewards for information about any survivors or additional technology. Kara and Violet left quickly after hearing this. The news was spreading faster than they had feared. Soon every bounty hunter and fortune seeker in the region would be looking for a purple alien. 3 days after leaving Miner's Rest, they detected a ship following them. It kept its distance but changed course when they did, staying just at the edge of sensor range. Someone following us, Violet said, her tail twitching nervously. Not patrol ship 2. Small Kara checked the sensors. Not a cargo vessel either. Could be a bounty hunter. They tried evasive maneuvers, increasing speed and changing direction randomly. But the ship remained behind them, gradually closing the distance. After hours of this tense pursuit, Kara made a decision. We can't outrun them forever. We need to confront this. She found a small, uninhabited planet with a dense atmosphere. Perfect for their plan. Kara took the Wanderer into the planet's atmosphere where sensors would be less effective. The pursuing ship followed as she had hoped. Violet had prepared a surprise with her technical knowledge. She had modified a cargo pod to emit the same signatures as their ship, a decoy, when they were deep in the planet's cloud layer. Kara released the decoy. Then she cut engines and let the Wanderer drop low, skimming just above the rocky surface. The pursuing ship followed the decoy, which continued on a straight path. From their hiding place, they watched on sensors as the unknown ship approached the decoy. Then Kara fired up the engines and circled behind their pursuer. They were now the hunters. Kara opened communications. Identify yourself, or we will fire. There was a long pause. Then a gruff voice responded. No need for weapons. Adams just want to talk business proposition. After the encounter with the bounty hunter, Kara and Violet knew they needed a better plan. They could not keep running forever. Eventually someone would catch them. The Lizari technology was too valuable and the authorities too determined. We need allies, Kara said as they sat in the cockpit plotting their next move. People we can trust. Maybe even a place to hide for a while. Violet nodded, her tail moving in thoughtful patterns. She had been quiet since the battle, her opal eyes often distant. Finally she spoke. I know place may be safe. My people had friends long ago, another species called Araxians. They helped Lizari during war. Protected some of us. Kara looked surprised. You never mentioned them before. Violet made a soft, trilling sound that the translator did not catch, but her tail movement showed embarrassment. Not sure they still exist. Not sure where to find them. Only stories from elders. But they lived in region humans call Crimson Nebula. The Crimson Nebula was at the very edge of charted space, a dangerous region filled with radiation storms and gravitational anomalies. Few ships ventured there. Fewer returned. It was at least 3 weeks' journey from their current position. It's not much, Kara said, but it's better than nothing. We need somewhere to go. The bounty hunter will recover eventually, and he might tell others despite his promise. They set course for the Crimson Nebula. Kara filed a false flight plan indicating they were heading toward the mining colonies in the opposite direction. This might confuse any pursuers, at least temporarily. The journey was long and increasingly dangerous. As they approached the nebula, navigation became difficult. The swirling clouds of red gas interfered with sensors and the radiation. Levels rose steadily. Violet modified their shields to better protect against the radiation, but they could not stay in the nebula indefinitely. After 5 days of carefully picking their way through the outer edges of the nebula, they had found no sign of any civilization or outpost. Kara was beginning to doubt Violet's story. "Are you sure about this place?" she asked as they avoided yet another radiation pocket. The Wanderer groaned as turbulence shook the ship. Violet looked uncertain, her tail curled tightly around her chair. "Not sure. Just stories. Maybe long ago. Maybe not real." Kara sighed in frustration. They had risked everything on a story told to Violet by her elders. But before she could speak again, the ship's sensors beeped. Violet leaned forward, studying the reading structure detected. She announced excitedly, "Not natural inside large asteroid." Kara adjusted course, moving toward the coordinates. Approaching the asteroid was difficult. The radiation levels spiked dangerously and gravitational eddies pulled at the ship. They circled the large rock looking for any signs of habitation. There, Violet pointed to a dark spot on the asteroid's surface. Entrance. Hidden. Kara maneuvered closer. Indeed, there was an opening in the asteroid, a hangar door, built seamlessly into the rock surface. It was closed, showing no lights or signs of activity. Violet worked at the communication console, her 6-fingered hands moving rapidly. She sent a signal, a series of musical tones that Kara did not recognize. Response came. Kara was about to suggest they leave when Violet sent the signal again, this time adding a different pattern at the end. The asteroid remained dark and silent. Kara shook her head. "It's abandoned, Violet. Whatever was here is long gone." But, as she spoke, a faint light appeared around the edges of the hangar door. Then slowly the massive doors began to slide open, revealing a cavernous space within. "No defenses activated," Kara noted cautiously. "Could be automated. Could be a trap." Violet shook her head, her eyes shifting to a confident gold color. "Not trap. Araxian signal accepted." They recognized Lisseri with few options and their fuel running low. Kara carefully guided the Wanderer into the hangar. The space was enormous, much larger than needed for their small ship. Ancient dock equipment lined the walls. Dim emergency lighting cast long shadows across the floor. There were no other ships visible as the hangar doors closed behind them. Kara ran a quick atmospheric scan. Breathable air, she confirmed, gravity slightly higher than standard. No signs of toxins. They prepared to leave the ship. Kara checked her sidearm while Violet gathered a small pack of tools and supplies. As they approached the airlock, Violet hesitated. "What if no Araxians left?" she said softly. "What if all gone like Lisseri?" Kara had no answer but squeezed her friend's shoulder gently. They would face whatever waited together. The airlock cycled, and they stepped into the hangar. The air was stale, but breathable. The temperature was cool but not uncomfortable. Their footsteps echoed in the vast empty space. They had walked perhaps 20 meters from their ship when movement caught their attention. From shadowed doorways, figures emerged, tall and slender, with dark blue skin and 4 arms. They moved with fluid grace, their large eyes reflecting the dim light. Violet froze her tail, going completely still. "Araxians," she whispered. "They still exist." 6 of the aliens approached, forming a semicircle around Kara and Violet. They carried no visible weapons but moved with cautious precision. Their bodies were covered in flowing robes with strange geometric patterns. The tallest one stepped forward and spoke. The musical language was nothing Kara had ever heard, but beside her Violet trembled, her eyes shifting rapidly through colors. She responded in the same musical language, though her voice was different. Somehow less resonant. The tall Araxian tilted its head, listening. Then it looked directly at Kara. Its voice came again, but this time translated by a device on its wrist. You bring Lissari here. Human Y. Kara explained their situation. As briefly as possible, she told of finding Violet, the last survivor of her people. She described the pursuit by authorities and bounty hunters. The Araxians listened without interruption, their large eyes unblinking. When she finished the lead, Araxian turned to Violet and spoke again in their musical language. Violet responded, her tail moving in formal patterns Kara could not interpret. The conversation continued for several minutes. Finally, the Araxian turned back to Kara. Our sensors detected your ship days ago. We watched your approach. Your companion sent the ancient signal, a signal not heard in 50 years. We thought all Lissari gone. The alien continued. Many died in the Great War. Others scattered. We sheltered some for years, but they left seeking others of their kind. None returned. The Araxian gestured around the hangar. This place now home to few we hide from galaxy that forgot us or wishes to forget. Kara felt a chill. The Araxians, like the Lissari, were a dying species clinging to existence in this forgotten corner of space. Will you help us? She asked. We need somewhere safe. From those who hunt Violet for her knowledge, the lead Araxian conferred with the others, speaking rapidly. Then it addressed Violet again in their shared musical language. The conversation was intense. Violet's tail movements showed strong emotion. Finally, the Araxian spoke to Kara again. You may stay for now. Our home is hidden, protected by nebula. Few find us, fewer leave to tell. But we must know, you are Violet's protector. Her clan now. Yes, Kara said without hesitation. We look after each other. The Araxian studied her with those large unblinking eyes. Then it nodded. You will be shown quarters. Your ship can remain here. They were led through winding corridors deeper into the asteroid. The structure was vast, much larger than it had appeared from outside. The walls were covered in the same geometric patterns as the Araxians' robes. Glowing panels provided soft light. Their quarters were simple but comfortable. 2 connected rooms with basic furnishings. The Araxian explained that food would be brought, and that they should rest tomorrow. They would meet the elders. When they were alone, Violet explored the rooms, her tail swishing with excitement. Her eyes had settled into a bright green color that Kara had learned meant happiness. They are real, she said. They remember Lissari. Old Alliance still honored her voice through the translator, could not convey emotion, but her body language showed profound relief. Kara smiled, seeing her friend so animated. It was good to see Violet happy after weeks of tension and fear. But she still had concerns. Can we trust them, she asked. How much should we tell them about the Lissari technology? Violet considered this, her tail moving in thoughtful patterns. Araxians, not warriors, she said. Finally, they hide, survive. Not interested in weapons or power, will help protect knowledge, not steal it. The next morning they were escorted to a large circular chamber. The room was dominated by a round table with 12 seats. 7 were occupied by elderly Araxians there. Blue skin faded to a pale azure with age. They wore elaborate robes and jewelry that marked their status. The lead elder spoke using a translation device. We have discussed your situation. Most unusual. A lone Lissari and her human protector. The galaxy believes Lissari extinct their technology. Lost Violet stepped forward and spoke formally in the musical language. The translator struggled, but Kara understood enough. Not extinct, not yet. I carry knowledge. All Lissari. History, technology, art I seek. Safe place to preserve, not to use for war. The elders conferred among themselves. Then the lead elder spoke again. We remember the alliance between our peoples. The Lissari helped us survive when others would have seen us conquered. We have not forgotten. The elder turned to Kara. What do you seek, human? Many of your kind would sell this knowledge for profit or power. Kara met the alien's gaze steadily. I want Violet to be safe, to have a future, not hunted, not studied, not used. She is my friend, my clan. I protect what is mine. Kara guided the Wanderer away from the asteroid, moving quietly on minimal power. The military vessel was still searching the nebula, its sensors sweeping methodically through the red clouds. She waited until the ship turned away, then fired up her engines at full power, deliberately creating a bright energy signature. The military vessel detected her, immediately changing course to pursue. Kara pushed her ship faster, heading deeper into the nebula. The chase had begun. Back at the asteroid colony, Violet worked frantically with the Araxian scientists. The shadow cloak technology was complex, requiring precise calibration. Her six-fingered hands moved with incredible speed as she built the central control unit. Her tail twitched with concentration as she explained the principles to the blue-skinned aliens. The Araxian chief scientist, named Talon, watched in amazement. "Such technology," he said. "This could have won the war for your people. Why did they not use it?" Violet paused, her tail going still. "For defense only," she replied. "Not for attacking, never for war. Lysari believed technology should protect life, not take it." She continued working. The shadow cloak would hide the entire asteroid from sensors and even visual detection, but it required careful integration with the asteroid's existing systems. Meanwhile, Kara flew a dangerous path through the nebula. The military ship followed, doggedly gaining ground, its superior engines giving it an advantage. She could not outrun it for long. A communication request flashed on her console. Kara hesitated, then accepted. The stern face of a military commander appeared on screen. "This is Commander Bailey of the Federal Security Force. You are harboring a fugitive alien and stolen technology. Stand down and..." "Prepare to be boarded." Kara kept her expression neutral. "This is Kara Adams of the independent cargo vessel Wanderer. I am alone, as you can scan for yourself, just passing through the nebula." The commander frowned. "Our intelligence says otherwise. We tracked you from Nova Haven. Your ship has had contact with the last known Lysari survivor. Where is she?" Kara shrugged dramatically. "Not here. As you can see, I'm alone. I'm a cargo hauler looking for new routes. The nebula is unmapped territory, could be valuable." The commander did not believe her. "Our scans show your ship has been modified with unknown technology. Stop now or we will fire." Kara ended the transmission. She needed to buy more time for Violet and the Araxians. She flew toward a particularly dense cloud of the nebula where radiation levels were highest. The military ship followed, firing a warning shot that passed close to her port side. At the asteroid, Violet connected the final components of the shadow cloak. The device hummed with energy, its crystal core glowing with a soft purple light. The Araxian elders gathered to witness the activation, each wearing protective coverings against the radiation. "The device might emit. It will take 1 hour to fully activate," Violet explained. "Once running, it must never be turned off or the location will be exposed." The eldest Araxian stepped forward. "Are you certain this will work?" Lysari Violet nodded, her tail moving in confident patterns. "It will work. Your home will be safe. No one will find you or me." Her opal eyes shifted to a deep purple, the color of certainty among her people. The activation sequence began. Energy flowed from the crystal core into the asteroid systems. The rock itself seemed to vibrate slightly as the technology integrated with the natural materials. Back in the nebula, Kara executed a dangerous maneuver. She cut engines and spun the Wanderer in a tight circle, allowing the military ship to overshoot her position. Then she fired engines again, heading in a new direction. The military vessel was faster but less maneuverable. It took precious minutes for it to change course and resume pursuit. Those minutes gave Kara the lead she needed. She flew directly into the densest part of the nebula, where radiation, scrambled sensors, and navigation systems became unreliable. Commander Bailey was persistent. His ship followed despite the danger. He fired again, this time striking the Wanderer's engines. The ship shuddered, damage, alarms blaring. Kara fought to maintain control as her vessel spun from the impact. The engine damage was serious but not critical. Violet had reinforced the systems, making them more resilient, but Kara could not take another direct hit. She needed a plan ahead. The nebula grew even denser, swirling clouds of crimson gas obscuring visibility. Gravitational anomalies pulled at the ship, making control difficult. Kara had an idea. Dangerous, but potentially effective. She programmed a course directly through the worst of the anomalies. Then, she prepared the ship's emergency beacon, setting it to activate on a timer. She would eject it, making it appear that her ship had been destroyed while she escaped through the anomalies. As the military vessel closed in, Kara launched the beacon and pushed her damaged ship into the gravitational distortion. The Wanderer groaned under the strain, hull plates creaking as forces pulled at the structure. Looking back, she saw the military ship hesitate at the edge of the distortion field. Commander, Bailey was too cautious to follow. The beacon activated, sending out a distress signal. Then, as planned, it emitted a brief energy surge that would register as an explosion on the military ship's sensors. Kara held her breath, watching the military vessel, hovered at the edge of the anomaly field, scanning. It remained there for several long minutes. Then slowly it turned away, apparently believing the Wanderer had been destroyed. She had done it. Kara allowed herself a moment of relief before focusing on the difficult task of navigating back to the asteroid. The engine damage made the return journey slow and dangerous. The nebula's radiation interfered with her navigation systems, forcing her to rely on visual references and memory at the asteroid colony. The shadow cloak was fully activated. A shimmering field surrounded the entire rock, making it appear as nothing more than another piece of debris floating in the nebula. Sensors would slide over it, detecting nothing unusual. Violet paced anxiously. In the control center, her tail swishing with worry. Kara should have returned by now. The Araxians watched her with sympathy, understanding her concern. Then a sensor operator called out, "A ship approaching. Heavily damaged." Moving slowly, Violet rushed to the screen. It was the Wanderer, barely recognizable with its damaged hull and failing engines. "She is alive," Violet cried, her eyes shifting to bright green. "Bring her in." The hangar doors opened just enough to allow the damaged ship to enter, then closed quickly. The Wanderer landed, roughly skidding across the floor before coming to a stop. Emergency teams rushed forward as the airlock opened. Kara stumbled out, coughing from the smoke that filled her ship. Her face was smudged with dirt, and a cut on her forehead dripped blood. But she was smiling. Violet ran to her, wrapping her arms and tail around Kara in a tight embrace. "You came back," the alien whispered, her musical voice breaking with emotion. "I promised, didn't I?" Kara replied, returning the hug. "The military ship thinks him dead." They saw the beacon explode. They turned back. The Araxian elders approached. "The shadow cloak is operational," the lead elder announced. "Your friend has given us protection that will last generations. We are in your debt." Kara looked around at the gathered Araxians, then at Violet. "No debt," she said. "This is our home now. If you'll have us." The next few weeks were busy. The Wanderer needed extensive repairs. The shadow cloak required monitoring and adjustment. The Araxian colony slowly returned to normal life, though now with 2 new residents. Violet thrived among the Araxians. Though not her people, they shared a similar outlook on life and technology. She began the long process of recording Lissari knowledge, creating a database that would preserve her people's legacy. Each day she spent hours speaking into a recorder, describing Lissari history, art, music, and science. Kara found purpose as well. She took charge of the colony's security organizing training for the peaceful Araxians who had little experience with defense. She also began mapping safe routes through the nebula, knowledge that would be valuable if they ever needed to leave. One evening they stood together in the observation dome, looking out at the swirling crimson clouds of the nebula. The shadow cloak created a strange effect from the inside, making the view shimmer slightly, like looking through flowing water. Beautiful Violet set her tail, moving in lazy content patterns. Her opal eyes reflected the red light. "Do you miss traveling? The stars?" Freedom. Kara considered the question. She had spent years alone on the Wanderer, moving from place to place, never staying long enough to form connections, running from the memories of her lost family on Earth. "No," she said finally. "I was never free out there. I was running, hiding from myself. Here she gestured around at the asteroid colony. I have purpose, people who depend on me, someone to protect. She smiled at Violet. Someone who protects. Me too. Violet made a soft, trilling sound that needed no translation. Her tail reached out, wrapping gently around Kara's wrist in the gesture of affection that had become familiar between them. We are clan now, Violet said. The words simple but profound. Yes, Kara agreed. We are family and we are home. 6 months after their arrival at the asteroid colony, life had settled into a comfortable routine. The shadow cloak functioned perfectly, hiding them from the outside world. Kara's ship had been fully repaired, though she rarely took it out, preferring short trips to test systems or gather resources from nearby asteroids. The Araxians had accepted them completely. Kara and Violet participated in colony decisions and celebrations. They had learned the language. Though Violet was much more fluent, her musical voice adapting easily to the Araxian tones.